Cheap Trick didn't just replace a drummer, they replaced the guy who looked like Cheap Trick. The cigarette, the quiet presence, the guy in the back who just let the music do the talking. And one day, they told him not to come in anymore. This is a guy who'd been with the band for 37 years. Every album, every hit. I Want You to Want Me, Surrender, Dream Police, the backbone of one of the tightest power pop bands in history. And just like that, he's out. No farewell tour, no press conference, no phone call where someone sits him down. Just a statement put out there. Bun E Carlos is not currently the touring drummer for Cheap Trick, but Carlos remains a band member. That's it. That's how they did it. Translation, you're still on the payroll, but don't come to work. And the replacement? The guitarist's son. Producer Tom Werman called him the anchor that allowed the band to fly.
They're my favorite band, the favorite band that I work with. And, you know, I always said that. Bunny's the best drummer I've worked with. Robin is without question the best singer I've ever worked with, and Tom Peterson is right up there with the best bass player. Rick is a super songwriter, creator. He's the whole brains behind the outfit, really.
He was the cool one in a band of misfits, the guy who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, and somehow made that look iconic. And in 2010, Cheap Trick decided they didn't need him anymore. This isn't a story about drugs or ego or creative differences. It's about nepotism, money, and what happens when a band decides the drummer is replaceable. Let's talk about why Cheap Trick worked visually, because it wasn't an accident. You had Robin Zander, blonde, pretty, the rock star. Tom Peterson, mysterious, chestnut hair, looked like he belonged in a prog band. Then you had the quirky guys, Rick Nielsen in the cap and bow tie, looking like a demented soda jerk, and Bun E, sitting behind the kit like the world was mildly annoying. I went down to the Salvation Army and bought a bunch of 50-cent white shirts, some pants, a vest, and some ties. It wasn't a costume, it was just him being him. And that cigarette, it wasn't a gimmick either. It was just part of the early image, the half-finished smoke hanging out of the corner of his mouth. He looked like the guy behind the desk at a trucking company, and that's exactly why it worked.
We came to LA in 1975, like we met Kim Fowley, and what should we do? And he's like, well, that name stinks, and you should get this Golden suit and all this junk. And we were like, well, no, we like it the way we are. And my image came from going to the Salvation Army, and because the white shirts were only 50 cents, and they were real comfortable to perform in. And yeah, we just basically took our own image and expanded on it, which, if it would have been a made-up image, it really would have been kind of, you know, like Kiss or something, where we just created these cartoon characters for ourselves. That would be kind of bogus, and probably would have driven us nuts. So, yeah, it's basically our own image, and so it was easy to work with.
Cheap Trick wasn't 4 rock stars. It was 2 rock stars and 2 regular guys who just happened to be elite at what they did. Listen to Surrender, that locked-in bounce, that's him. Listen to I Want You to Want Me, live at Budokan. Driving the whole thing without overpowering it, that's him. Werman said Cheap Trick could knock out full songs in an afternoon. We did Dream Police in 30 days, start to finish. You don't do that without a drummer who is basically a human metronome. So what happened in 2010? Here's what we know for sure. Carlos and Robin Zander had a falling out over how many performances they should put on in Las Vegas. Carlos was overruled and decided to split. But that's the clean version. Here's his version. One guy doesn't want me there, and the other guys were fine with that. They asked if they could use my drums. I said, yeah, go ahead, and then send them back to me, please. One guy. He never says who, but the implication is clear. This wasn't a band decision. It was a push. And the rest of the band let it happen. And who replaced him? Rick Nielsen's son, Dax. Let that sink in. The guitarist's son takes over the drum throne. Now, to be fair, Dax is a solid drummer. This isn't about talent, it's about what it means.
We knew we needed to have somebody to replace, and I had to call Dax and find out if he was interested. But I also had to call Tom and Robin because I didn't want it to be my choice. Since like, oh, well, Rick's kid or whatever. But see, Daxton played with us before on an Aerosmith tour when Bunny got his back operated on. And plus then after that, I didn't really see him for like 10 years. But the fact that he worked with Dick Dale for 3 years, and he worked with Randy Carlisle, it's like his chops were there, and he knows the songs better than we do. First time we did all our songs at the right tempo too.
At first, Carlos tried to stay diplomatic. In 2012, he said, "I'm still in the band, but I don't tour. I don't hear from them. Maybe we'll kiss and make up." They did not kiss and make up. In 2012, the band stopped contacting him about business decisions and stopped making payments. So in 2013, he filed a lawsuit, seeking at least $600,000 in back income and damages. But it wasn't just about money. He wasn't an employee, he was an owner. He had veto power, and they basically pretended he didn't exist. The band countersued to get an official affirmation of removing him. Think about that. He sued to get his rights back. They sued to make sure he stayed gone. A Delaware judge threw out the countersuit. A U.S. district judge sided with Carlos and rejected Cheap Trick's attempts to dismiss his claims. He was winning in court. Then, February 2015, the lawsuit gets settled. He keeps his 25% stake. He gets voting rights. But he doesn't tour. He doesn't record. Any friendship we had went away when I had to file a federal lawsuit, he said. Going after these guys wasn't pleasant. The friendship sort of frittered away. Let me tell you what I think happened here. Carlos basically said it himself. Usually it's sex, drugs, or money. When the lawsuits got filed, it ended up to be money. This wasn't about him being too old. This wasn't about him being too slow. This was about control, money, and a band thinking the drummer seat is easy to swap. Rick Nielsen wanted his son in. Maybe it was legacy. Maybe it was cheaper. Maybe it was leverage. But Carlos was a founding member, so they couldn't just fire him. So they did the next best thing. They stopped calling. They stopped paying. They hoped he'd go away. He didn't. He won legally, but emotionally, he lost what mattered. April 8th, 2016, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Bun E shows up. He plays with the band for the first time in 6 years. The crowd goes nuts, and for one night, it looks like the movie ending is coming. Then, the show ends. Carlos goes home. The band goes back on tour without him. It was a reunion for the cameras, nothing more. Here's what kills me. He's still the archivist. Since the beginning, he kept the set lists. He helped record the concerts. He kept the history. Even after the lawsuit, he still did the work nobody wants. And what's he doing now? These days I mess around locally with a couple of bands. That is something to do. The human metronome, the guy who played on millions of records, a visual icon, playing local gigs, staying ready for a call that's never coming.
Musically, I'm retired from the road with Cheap Trick. It got kind of crazy out there, but I'm still a member of the group and organization. I played on the last Christmas single last fall and stuff like that. I'm messing around in some side projects. I have a Monday night band where I live. We only play on Mondays, and so we sewed up that corner of the market. And it's guys in other bands, and so they're always off on Mondays.
Right.
And I do like the Fountains of Wayne. I subbed for these guys. There's another band from Monroe called the Jimmies, who the drummer is the former drummer for the Georgia Satellites, Mauro Magellan. I subbed for him in that band when he's like in Europe with Dan Baird or people like that, other satellites. And just a little bit of this and that, mess around. I started a Facebook page archiving all the Cheap Trick stuff. I have the Cheap Trick archives and stuff.
Okay.
Cheap Trick is still touring, still making money, and most fans don't even notice he's gone. Because drummers are replaceable, right? Especially when the boss's kid is sitting behind the kit. But listen to those early records. Listen to Budokan. Listen to the groove, the precision, the way the drums lock everything together. That's not replaceable. That's Bun E Carlos. And they fired him anyway. Not for drugs, not for ego, not for creative differences. For money. And because they could. The founding member, still in the band on paper, still erased from the stage. Some bands break up, some bands fade away, and some bands just quietly replace you with the boss's kid. What do you think? Was he right to sue, or should he have walked away? Let me know in the comments.
Smash that subscribe button right now. Don't just sit there. Join the crew, stay locked in, and let's keep the beat alive.